Cali Nerdcast. Welcome to the Cali Nerdcast. I'm Landon Linz.
I'm Spencer Linz.
And we're here to give you the nerd news. Or maybe not news, just random stuff. But
I don't know how much new stuff we're going to be talking about. That's why we're debating if it's news.
yeah. Kind of starting at a random time. There's not a whole lot of new nerdy stuff out. But there's plenty that's going to be coming out. Both in the Star Wars world, the Marvel world.
Yep.
But we were thinking just start off talking about Star Wars. So, I'm going to let my brother, Spencer Linz, talk about some of his thoughts about Star Wars.
Okay, cool. Well,
Rogue One, Star Wars Rogue One. Or it could be just whatever.
I mean, I'm just incredibly excited for the Star Wars universe right now. Me and my older brothers, me and my brother have some stepbrothers too. We just love Star Wars growing up. And we were crazy in love when all the one, like episode 1, episode 2, and episode 3 came out. But we were also in middle school, maybe just in high school for the third one. So we didn't really know what a good movie was. And we didn't know of all the flaws and the errors and how they really, of course we just didn't really know at the time how lame the CGI was. Because that was the best there was at the time.
Yeah, the prequels were amazing to us at the time.
Yes, the prequels were. They were, amazing. I thought episode 1 was great.
We needed the lightsabers, we needed the action figures.
Yeah, and it inspired a whole new level of going crazy with plastic lightsabers with our lightsaber fights. So we thought they were awesome. But then we got older, rewatched them, and we're like, oh, it's just hard. But 4, 5, and 6, golden.
Yeah,
timeless.
to this day.
Amazing.
If you can get past the old effects, which, the real lovers of Star Wars love those old effects. Or at least are okay with it. I would personally enjoy them, but you really didn't need to add too much to that. And I think that's what Force Awakens and Rogue One both did, is that they did use awesome CGI, but they also threw it back to kind of the old graphics, old style of Star Wars.
Yeah.
You see X-Wings and you see TIE Fighters.
Yeah.
AT-STs.
Yeah, me and Landon, we watched episode 7 when it first came out together. And the first thing that I was so happy about is I could tell that these were real, figurines or, whatever. It was actual devices, not just CGI. And I'm like, oh man, this feels so authentic. This feels so much just more real. And it just brought me into the story so much more. And honestly, there's just 4, 5, and 6, and 7, I feel like all had a passion and a level to detail that I just didn't feel with 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3, George Lucas totally told his story. We got the full picture of it. That's great. That's awesome. Love the whole Star Wars story. I can appreciate the storyline now of 1, 2, and 3 way more now, especially episode 1 and episode 2, because it's pretty political. And at the time, I just didn't really want to think in depth of how intergalactic politics would work out. So totally appreciate those. But 4, 5, and 6, and 7, 4, 5, and 6, and 7, they just, man, it just seems like everyone that was on those sets had this crazy love and just detail to everything that they were doing, and it felt like they knew they were part of something epic and something timeless. And then Rogue One. So, my opinion of Rogue One is that I think they did a really, really good job, and they're setting a really, really good precedent for what a Star Wars story is. And what I mean by that is, I liked how it didn't feel like the intro felt different. We didn't have the the text coming
Yeah,
from the
that's
sky.
kind of the set it apart from the main movies.
Yeah, and you
The
could
fact
tell
that they didn't have that intro.
you could tell that they weren't trying to do the same thing, but they were just trying to tell a story of it.
Yeah.
And so before they ever announced that they were going to
Span the Star Wars world.
Yep.
Or universe.
Who would really actually be pretty great in this podcast is my wife, Emily, whenever we're talking about Star Wars, because she is a crazy fanatic of all things related to Star Wars. Specifically with theories. She loves just like making theories about like what's connected to what. And we always discussed how like
I
there's
think I know where
this
this is going.
well, there's this weird thing of I'll get into that later.
Okay.
But we discussed how like, hey, there's this weird mysterious thing of like there's this great expense that it took to be able to get the plans for the Death Star.
Right.
Like that always stuck out to her and to me. Like, what are these plans that they're talking about?
Right.
And then we heard that they were going to tell about that in Rogue One. We were super excited. And so, my biggest surprise, and I know Landon talked about Star Wars Rogue One in the last one, so I just want to kind of cover in my other thoughts that I have yet to express.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Me and
I
Emily.
mean, I already talked enough about Rogue One in the first one, so
Yeah.
I'll just add whatever.
We so thought that the main character of Rogue One would be the mom of Rey in Episode 7.
Yeah.
We really, really thought that. They
I
look
thought
similar.
that too.
Yeah, they look
I don't
similar.
know if you told me that or if I had seen that on TV, but you're used to in the Star Wars world characters getting connected.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that's just common with trilogies and mini sequels. They tie in a lot of characters.
Yep.
Maybe some would argue too much.
Yeah.
But anyways, go ahead.
And so, Rey and Jyn Erso, they look similar, have similar accents. Rey's mysteriously taken from parents that we don't get to see. And so we strongly thought, dude, this is going to be her parents. And we thought that what we see is just like a little bit of this character, or maybe this character's husband. We thought the character's husband might be Luke Skywalker. That was another theory we had. And then that theory was literally obliterated before our eyes
Yeah.
when we saw.
Oh, yeah. But it's awesome that it's like that. I mean, I don't know if they knew that we all expected the characters to be related to other Star Wars characters, and just spoiler alert, just killing them off at the end was just that much more shocking.
Yep.
Expecting her to, have more to do with the Star Wars world than just those plans. But at the same time, that's huge.
Yeah.
That's, for someone that's not a part of the main characters, the Luke Skywalker and Han Solo kind of characters, but is, has her own kind of side thing.
Yep.
That's huge.
I think too, like, it was a really good theme of sacrifice for a greater cause. Really, really good theme of that. And that's not a theme that's unknown to Star Wars in Episode 4.
If you think about it too, without Jyn Erso, nothing would have happened in the further Star Wars movies. Because you think about it, that was like the one thing Luke had to offer, was his ability to shoot missiles into a target. No one else could do it. But if the Death Star couldn't have been blown up by that, then Luke would have failed. And if Luke had failed, then who knows what he would have done after that.
Operational. Yep. Yep.
He might have tried to blow up the Death Star, realized he couldn't, gone home, and
Yep.
tried to live as long as he could in Tatooine before the Death Star blew it up.
Yeah. Have you ever seen The Martian?
No.
It kind of reminds me of another spoiler. At the end, like, he talks about how it's a guy that he's on a mission to Mars with several other people, and there's this accident that happens, and he gets stuck there. They all think he's dead, and then the rest of his team gets off. And the whole story is about him getting back to Earth. And there's all these disasters, and there's all these things that he has to do. He has to really use his scientific mind to be able to survive. And he talks about how when the odds are completely against you, you just do whatever you can. You think as hard as you can to think of some kind of solution. And then you just do that time after time after time. When you run into a roadblock and there's nothing you can do to survive, you just sit down, crunch the numbers, you do as much thinking as you can, you innovate, you find some way of getting out. Mm-hmm. And I think that kind of reminds me of like the whole path to bringing down the empire. I'm hoping that we find out more how the First Order kind of came from the ashes of the empire. Which to me, a lot of it makes sense. I mean, it was a big empire. But on the same end, like, I mean, it felt
you're hoping what?
Well, we find out more of how it was able to come from the ashes. Because it really felt like the Republic,
But you're hoping that would happen in Rogue One?
No, in like Episode 8, or in a Star Wars story.
Yeah, it is weird that they didn't do anything that connects 6 to 7.
Mm-hmm. There's all the talks.
They don't really have plans to, as far as I know. Just a Han Solo movie, and I don't know how real the Boba Fett thing is. But
well, that'd be cool. I think it bring another.
Take the cat out.
Oh.
But keep talking.
Bye, cat. So, another big theory, or just like lots of questions that we have about the Star Wars world, is who is the Sith Lord that Kylo Ren is the apprentice of? Right? Who is this guy? There's that big question.
That big guy in the hologram.
Yep.
Yeah. I thought they might explain that he might be, what's the guy in Rogue One? The Chancellor, maybe, or whatever it was.
I don't know.
The guy that was, Grand Moff Tarkin? I thought maybe Grand Moff Tarkin might be Snoke.
Oh, that's funny. I never thought
that was just a thought. I don't even know if that's
Tarkin.
Anybody else has said that or anything.
That's funny because, like, him
Emperor,
that older.
Well, because they say that... Because isn't that how Emperor Palpatine lived so long or whatever, or got...
Well, that's...
Because of the...
In Episode 3, there's that scene where Anakin wants to know how... Like, he wants to protect... his family from the impending doom that he's seen in his dreams. So, the Chancellor Palpatine kind of just senses this in his dark Sith ways.
Right.
And then he tells him about a Sith Lord that was able to be able to live without dying. It seems like have eternal life.
Right.
And it feels like he's hinting that he killed him. Because it said that his apprentice killed him, right? Or something like that. Mm-hmm. And so, me and Emily thought, is that maybe he actually didn't die, just like Anakin didn't die.
Wait, who didn't die? Oh, Emperor Palpatine?
Emperor Palpatine's Sith Lord.
Sith
because
Lord.
if the guy, because he said that he killed him, but maybe he thought he killed him and he didn't.
Oh, and that's what we're gonna find out.
And maybe he still is alive.
All I know,
back then.
All I know about what I want to see in Episode 8, I want to see Luke Skywalker wield the lightsaber.
That's for sure.
I mean, that'd be sweet.
Yeah.
Will he be more of a Yoda, where he just trains Rey? I could see that too, but I really hope.
Man, after seeing Darth Vader being the most, like, just awesome, like, I could not have wanted more out of the end of Rogue One when Darth Vader just goes off on the rebels. It was so cool, so amazing. Just like made you understand the fear of Darth Vader like more than ever. Just it's so cool. if they could do the Jedi version of that, and what I just
What
love,
would be the Jedi version of that?
I know it'd be totally different, but
I mean, I think I don't know, like, my imagination could just run wild of, like, ideas of him, like, just throwing around TIE fighters with the Force or something like that. Like, just being able to
that'd be sick.
really show off his power. Maybe he's gotten really powerful. Who knows?
Yeah.
But
I think this is a good time to bring up rest in peace, Carrie Fisher. So incredibly sad.
yeah,
Really, really sad.
yeah,
When I first found out, like, for many reasons, it really made me emotional, made my wife very emotional. I'm a manager, and many of my employees were actually really, really emotional. And I think that, her character and just who she was meant so much to so many of us.
right,
Really awesome actress, really awesome person.
yeah, yes.
And then there's the comment that you had earlier, which we can avoid. We can get past that comment.
Oh no,
Podcast.
Yeah, I was just trying to think before this podcast because I did want to talk about it, like what kind of strong kind of feelings or experiences I might have felt I had with Princess Leia. And the only thing I could think of was just like I remember seeing her in the slave outfit and when I was really little and it just being this really awkward thing. And then like later hearing hearing like people say like, oh yeah, kind of glamorizing that. It was kind of like a mental transition of like, oh yeah, I could see why that'd be attractive now, because I'm older. But I think it's interesting that definitely in that third movie, George Lucas was just like, well, this isn't exactly. We're gonna throw in something for the adults,
Yeah.
kind of thing. That is like right in the face of kids watching it. Just like beginning of the movie, we're seeing Leia in this like, with this chain and stuff.
Yeah.
Slave Leia.
I always felt like that just looks incredibly uncomfortable. Like, not to look at, although as a kid, yeah, but it just looks like the most uncomfortable thing to wear in the world.
Yeah. And then you get older and it's hot. But, okay. Let's see. Let's switch gears. Let's talk about.
Okay.
Stop talking about Princess Leia so much. And rest in peace, Princess Leia, and her mom. But let's talk about. I want to talk about like Deadpool. What have you seen the Logan trailer? At least?
Mhm.
Yeah, you've
Yeah.
seen the Logan trailer.
Mm-hmm.
Hugh Jackman has said in the past that he's not interested in doing another movie after Logan. But Ryan Reynolds has been talking to him and has actually gotten him to say in conversations that he would consider it.
I wonder what those conversations are like.
That he would consider being in a movie with Deadpool.
Is
And I
that
think
is that a
that's
text message?
genius. Here's the thing.
Is that
That's
a professional email? Is it a notarized letter?
Who knows?
What do you think it is?
Who knows? But
Do you think he runs into him in some fancy Hollywood thing? And then just is like,
No,
Q, I got this idea,
he
bro.
probably sees them a lot, dude. But he
Basically.
that's something that a lot of comic nerds want to see is Wolverine and Deadpool in a movie together.
Pretty awesome.
I think it'd be so sick if Deadpool's gonna get a true to the comic costume. I think Wolverine should too. It wouldn't make a whole lot of sense because it seems like he started out wearing this leather costume that would be just as uncomfortable as the costumes, we all wanted him to see wear. But then also, now with this Logan movie, he's just pretty much wearing clothes. But, but I could totally see why he would want to come back to do a movie like that because Deadpool was so successful and the X-Men movies have been kind of dropping off. And just Wolverine as a character isn't as interesting.
Apocalypse. Did you see X-Men Apocalypse?
I did.
Was it good?
It was good. And it was nice to see Wolverine in it. But Wolverine did nothing to the storyline. It's just like, take the storyline, let's go on a little road trip and show off Wolverine because it's fanfare. We know the fans will like seeing him.
Mm-hmm.
He had nothing to do with the storyline at all.
Yep.
And so, but a movie where you got Wolverine that is also an anti-hero, basically. He doesn't have a big moral code. He's just kind of violent and aggressive. But he's a lot more serious than Deadpool. And so that kind of interaction and communication, I think would be a good... Did you see that last movie that Hugh Jackman was in? About, that... I don't even know what that sport is called. That skiing kind of sport where they jump up real high. Eddie the Eagle. Eddie the Eagle, folks.
I didn't see it.
Hugh Jackman was in that, and the character that Eddie the Eagle is, I could almost see kind of being like a Deadpool because he's very just... He doesn't care what people think. He's just kind of goofy. And Hugh Jackman's really serious. But Eddie brings out kind of a lighter side to Hugh Jackman. I could see Deadpool doing that too with Wolverine. Kind of... I don't know. But, I mean, Hugh Jackman said himself that he thinks that relationship could be really interesting. And I think so too. Hugh Jackman interacting with the X-Men has been done enough times.
But can Deadpool and... I don't think because Fox has a specific contract.
Fox owns both Wolverine and Deadpool.
Oh.
Fox does X-Men. Fox does
I didn't know
X-Men
he did
movies.
Deadpool. I thought that was... It makes more sense, though. Makes a lot
Wait,
more
what?
sense. Because, like, Disney owns Marvel and
Yeah.
all
Star
of the,
Wars.
like... Well, no, and all the Marvel stuff, too.
Yeah.
So, but they don't own X-Men.
They don't own... And Marvel
And
can't
Deadpool.
even use the word mutants, which is interesting.
That is
They
interesting.
can't even use the term
I'm an
mutants.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. fan. Landon.
No, I couldn't get
Admit
into
it.
that. I tried with
Admit
the Ghost Rider episodes. When Ghost Rider comes in, still couldn't get into it. I don't get how people watch that show, but I don't get how people watch a lot of shows like CSI and stuff like that.
Dude.
Well, it was like
I love
serious, kind of, with the witty jokes and stuff. That aren't very witty.
Yeah, I love Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It's, I don't know, I think it's one of those things where you just gotta take it for what it is. Like, it's not the deep Hollywood movie kind of feeling at all. Like we love with Daredevil and that whole Netflix series, like the Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, love all those. But Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is very much just like, feels like a running show on TV, and it's just about the Marvel world, and it's fun. Like it's fun because it goes along with the Avengers as close as it can.
Yeah.
And whenever,
Which, I mean, some of the Netflix shows do that too.
a little,
Right.
but they'll even have like some of the people come into the show from the Avengers.
Oh, like some of the superheroes?
Yeah.
Really? Like
Yes.
who? Captain America? Iron Man? Hulk? Black Widow?
This is terrible. Sorry, listeners. What's the black dude that can fly?
This is a podcast, dude. This isn't a... They don't... don't gotta worry about
Well, I just...
asking questions.
What's the black dude that can fly with Captain America?
Oh, yeah.
That's his name.
Hawkeye? No, that's it. That's the bow and arrow guy. I don't know. It doesn't matter.
He's in one of them.
Okay.
And there's other guys too. I'm just trying to think of. It's been a long time since I've seen them all. I'm watching for like 3 years now.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy.
Well,
Samuel L.
I mean,
Jackson's
it's
in
a
one of
good
them.
show. I couldn't get into it personally, but
Samuel L. Jackson's in one. Yeah, but I love the show.
yeah.
I love it. I forgot what I was talking about with it a little bit.
Right.
I love it.
Well, it's been a while since they've come out with a new Marvel Netflix too. It'd be nice if one of those came out. We could talk about that, but
The Defenders.
I mean, we've seen. Yeah, we're waiting for the Defenders. We've seen
Who's the fourth guy?
Daredevil, and we've seen. You saw Luke Cage too, right?
Yeah, I like Luke Cage a lot.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
really
and
like
we
Luke
still
Cage.
need to see, but I think that's supposed to come after the Defenders. What's his name? John. I don't know, the Kung Fu guy. Kung Fu guy.
Who's the
So
main guy?
you gotta see the Kung Fu guy.
Is the Punisher one
Oh,
of
the
the
Iron
Defenders?
Fist. Gosh. Huh?
Is the Punisher one of the Defenders?
He'll probably pop in. Maybe. He's supposed to get his own Netflix show too.
Awesome. Punisher, all of his, when he comes into Daredevil, it's sick. Love that whole part.
Yeah, he's intense, dude.
Yep.
I think the part that he had that stands out in my memory the most is the part where he's giving relationship advice to, what's her name, Carol? I don't remember. The kind of
Yeah, the
secretary girl. Yeah.
I forgot her name too.
Yeah. Just secretary girl from now on.
Dude, this scene where he destroys a prison, where he kicks the crap out of everyone in the prison,
Yeah, dude.
is just, yeah, I would love a behind the scenes extra of that, because it blows my mind. It's just crazy how, I just don't know how they would have recorded it all. It just seems like,
Was it another one of the like one shot kind of things?
yeah, it was a one shot thing. It was
Yeah, that's
so
always intense, dude. Because if you don't get it the first time, you gotta do the entire thing all over.
good. Do you know the name of the actor? Whoever he is,
Yeah, guy from Walking Dead.
he's an awesome physical actor. Like, just,
Sean Brithnall, I think, something like that.
dude, he got bigger for this part, didn't he? 'Cause
Maybe.
I feel like, I remember him in The Walking
Probably.
Dead,
Yeah.
but
He's a pretty big guy in Walking Dead too.
yeah,
I don't know. Did they show him without a shirt on? Because I mean, of course, Marvel always has to show their superheroes without shirts. I'm assuming they stuck to that deliverance with him, unless he
yeah, I think so.
had a beer belly or something. They're like, not every character needs to show their stuff.
Yeah.
But
The new Guardians of the Galaxy looks pretty awesome too.
yeah,
I'm pretty stoked for it.
yeah.
Part of the Marvel world.
Yeah, it's one of the characters that they talk about that you don't even see in the trailers. It'll be interesting to see the dad.
Yeah,
What's his name? It's also
I have no clue who that is. I don't know anything about that. I know it hints
Really?
at it at the end of Guardians of the Galaxy, but I don't know who it is at all.
it's played by what's his name? Russell. Escape from LA guy. You know that movie? You know that movie? Kurt Russell.
Russell.
Yeah, Kurt Russell, dude. The
Oh,
original,
wow, that's cool.
the original Solid Snake
Yeah.
with the eye patch and stuff.
Yeah, seriously.
Colonel, can you hear me?
Oh man, fun stuff.
Yeah. Let's see. And then, yeah, I think that's about it for nerd news. I
Yeah,
don't
fun
know. Is
stuff.
there anything else you want to talk about?
I don't know. As far as does day trading fit into nerd news?
No, not at all.
Okay.
No one wants to hear about that.
Okay.
But yeah, we can kind of shooting for an hour, and we got 30 minutes.
Oh, I think that was supposed to be an hour.
Yeah. Do you want to do the whole hour? I mean, I don't know. That pretty much covers it, though.
I mean, you can keep the conversation going. My mind's kind of going blank.
Oh yeah.
That was supposed to be an hour.
Yeah, dude, I was saying. You know what I want to talk about is like why I'm doing the podcast.
Oh yeah.
Kind of the reason I wanted to do the podcast is because, I started off when I first heard really got into a podcast, really like listened to a podcast. My roommate Matt Poole at the time was listening to the Revcast, and that was with three guys that went to my church at Bethel, Atlanta, and I loved it. Like at first, I listened to it, I was like, "Why is he listening to people talking right now? Like, why would you want to just listen to people talk?" And as I started listening to it, I got really into it. I wanted to listen to the next episode. It was no time at all before I'd listened to like 100 episodes, each one like an hour long. Like this one, I'm forcing to be an hour long. And but the point of it was like it's kind of background music, it's background noise. That's what I want to provide with this. Is like I don't expect someone to just sit in their room and just listen to this. I expect people to, you're doing the dishes, you're driving somewhere, you're playing video games, you're doing whatever, and you want some communication. You want to hear communication. You want to hear people dialoguing about hopefully something you care about. If it's called the Nerdcast, I'd assume you're interested in nerdy kind of things. And so,
Yep.
And
set a good expectation.
Well, and the thing is, like with the Revcast, I loved it, but they stopped making it, and I would bug them to make it again, keep bugging them about it. Like they would, John would start preaching, and right before he's about to start preaching, I'd be like, "Bring back the Revcast." And people were like, "What? What?" And he said, "Oh, he said bring back the Revcast. We're working on it." They weren't working on it. They never brought it back. And so, really good advice that I heard, I think probably Kevin Smith, which recommend his podcast. I think it was his advice that if there's something in the world that's missing that you want to see or you want to hear, whatever it is, you want to read, make that thing. Don't just wait for somebody else to do it. Do it yourself. And so, really, like, this podcast is for me. But at the same time, like, I know that there's got to be more people like me that want to have something to listen to on a regular basis that they can listen to while they're doing other things.
Yep.
So that's my goal. And I listen to podcasts all the time. I listen to podcasts today.
Yeah. I listen to lots of podcasts, but mainly just Christian podcasts, just preaching podcasts.
Yeah.
Some of them are really good. I think, like, any avenue where people are able to share ideas is important. I love TED Talks. And I think that a TED Talk is a form of a podcast, just more.
Yep, totally. Yeah.
More done in a different, it's a conference. And capture the idea and send it out. And a podcast, especially like this kind of podcast, it's just some nerds talking.
Yeah. I definitely want I want this version of it to be laid back. I want to be in the category of laid back podcasts.
Yep.
Because I don't enjoy really performanced podcasts, really like put together podcasts. It's such a turnoff for me.
Mm-hmm.
The Nerdist which is what John, no, what's his name? John Hardwick?
I don't know.
He does The Talking Dead after The Walking Dead.
That's cool.
He, I think he started the Nerdist, and so today, I thought I would like check it out to see. Oh yeah, I need to expand my horizons because I ran out of Kevin Smith's and Ralph Garman's Hollywood Babylon, so I needed a new podcast. Checked it out. It was a little 5 minute, not even 5 minutes, with Jessica Chobot. Have you heard of her?
I feel like I have.
She does IGN News a lot.
Okay.
She's also doing. That's basically what Nerdist is now too.
Okay.
It's just her little segments of her giving news. I have no interest in watching that at all, and that doesn't fill in. Like, say I'm playing a video game or something, I don't want to have to every 5 minutes find a new podcast. You know? If I'm listening to a podcast on YouTube, hopefully it's an hour long. I'm down for it to be 2 hours long, 3 hours long. Something where, like, and especially the longer it is with a podcast, the longer the journey. And a journey is better than just quick little moments, you know.
Yeah.
At least for me, I like to go on the journey with people.
You know, I just thought of a topic we gotta have
So
in this podcast.
yeah,
Maybe not this one, but some. Maybe we could
just do it now. I
dive
mean, we're
into
just
it.
talking.
A little bit. I'm a huge fan of Tolkien, Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, all of it.
Dude, when I said journey, I was totally thinking of that and
that's why I
thinking
thought
that
of it
you
too.
could connect with that
Yep.
because it's super long. But because it's so long, that it's this journey that you go on, and it becomes a part of you because you're on that journey.
Yeah. Yep.
But yeah, talk about it. I mean, well, just share your fandom
Well,
with it.
okay, so I mean, first time I saw The Fellowship of the Ring. What?
Nothing. I was just saying, you bump this, it might help here.
Reminds me of that Office episode where they're Daryl is trying to he's trying to prank Andy, and Andy's has this phobia, this fear, this paranoia that the company does, that the printers catch fire, but it's not true.
Wait, why are you saying this? How did you
Because I was kicking the thing.
Because he's...
Oh man, that's
My brother
another
was
thing we
just
gotta talk
about to kick the bed, which is what this microphone is on top of, just a bed in my room. And so yeah, this story.
That's where this story's come from. I was thinking about that, where he was having Andy talk as higher and higher and higher to the microphone.
Oh,
So he
yeah.
was like, Andy, you gotta make your voice a little higher because it's for the microphone.
Thunder Mifflin!
No, a little higher.
Thunder Mifflin!
Yeah. It just kills
You gotta get the right... Yeah, this is the kind of microphone where you gotta speak at a certain frequency.
Yeah, or else
I'm a
it's just
little
won't pick it up.
concerned. Actually, I've been meaning to bring this up, Spencer. I'm a little concerned about how low your voice is. Because your voice is lower than mine. I don't
It
know
is.
if this... We haven't tested it yet. I don't know if this microphone's actually picking up your voice at all.
I hope you can hear my voice in this microphone. But and there's also another episode where Dwight wants to be on the radio, but then the radio show cancels, and then Jim
Oh,
is pretending to be on the radio, and they get Dwight to. They're saying that they're hearing his like belt buckle click or something like that. And they're like, "Sir, you're going to have to take that off." And then he's just in the break room. If you don't watch The Office, what is your deal? Just watch it.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
Nerd
It's
out about...
hilarious.
We can nerd out about that every day because that's the funniest show that's ever been made.
I may or may not have seen every episode 10 times, but definitely
Me
did,
too.
and probably a little more.
Probably more than that. Yeah.
Maybe not season 8 that many times, but that's the only one. That'd be the only
It's
exception.
something where rarely there's a show where you know for a fact every episode is going to make you laugh.
You know what? Yeah, totally. Every episode will make you laugh. And I just realized now that I'm a bigger nerd than I realized, because if I start talking about nerdy things, I'm a huge nerd.
Yeah,
There's a
nerd
whole
out.
bunch of stuff in my life that makes
See,
me a huge
here's
nerd.
here's the concern about having a Cali Nerdcast is, are the people on the show actually nerds? I was hoping, I was hoping that I could bring the nerd out of my brother as much as I could for this, if there's any in there.
I got plenty.
I mean,
As you can tell. So
he's a pro skimboarder too. Let's just throw that out there. So he's also cool, but he's also a nerd.
Which is definitely possible.
And when you're from California, it's usually like that. You're kind of cool, but you're kind of a nerd.
And honestly, I think in today's world, it's becoming less and less possible to not be nerdy and be cool. Personally.
Not being nerdy. Wait, what?
I think that you gotta be a little nerdy to be cool nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, especially if being nerdy means I'm not, because I feel like a whole new kind of form of shame. There's more shame nowadays in hiding your passion for different things than there is to actually have those passions.
Yeah. And like everything nerdy is popular. Like Marvel's super popular. Star Wars is super popular.
Yeah, nerds are coming out on top right now.
Pop culture is nerdy, and it's great.
Well, pop culture isn't always nerdy, but pop culture is becoming more nerdy.
Yeah, totally.
For sure.
So, Lord of the Rings.
Yes. Even though I'm not a big fan, this is a Nerdcast, so if you guys are big fans out there, listen to this guy.
Lord of the Rings, I mean, it's the movie trilogy was amazing. You've definitely got to be ready for some super, super long movies. But epic stories, like super, super awesome stories. I just really, really respect J.R.R. Tolkien and C.S. Lewis. I mean, there's stories of Tolkien kind of like leading C.S. Lewis to Christ. I don't know too much of the details of that or, how true that is, but I do know that they were in a riding club at a pub. Which, can we just take a step back? So these are Christians that are at a pub that write fictional books. They create fictional worlds that inspired many creators. Like Tolkien's work inspired so many people to go into the depth of creating like whole worlds. Because he made languages. He made, he would just make the language, but he'd also make the the spelling for it. What's the word I'm looking for?
The kind of the art for the symbols, the whole new symbols for letters.
Yeah. So,
whole new languages for these different fantasy kind of characters, creatures, and stuff.
Yeah. And then the Hobbit. I feel about the Hobbit the same way I feel about Star Wars Episode 1, 2, and 3. Like how I feel about those, they're good, they're okay, but...
Right, okay, so the Hobbit movie...
Yeah.
The Hobbit movies are kind of like a kind of awkward prequel that you appreciate, but only because you're such a big fan of the main thing, which is Lord of the Rings, or for Star Wars, it's the main...
It breaks my heart
4, 5, and 6.
That I talk to people about Lord of the Rings, they're like, oh yeah, I've watched The Hobbit. I'm like, no, you haven't seen The Hobbit and never seen Lord of the Rings, right? And a lot of them, that's where they're at. Yikes. Because The Hobbit came out lately, and I think it's...
I haven't even seen The Hobbit series, but I could tell you that that's a no-no, even not even being a Lord of the Rings fan.
Yeah. I mean, you take one book that's 300 pages, and you make 9 hours plus of movie about it, and then you have 1,000 pages, and you do 9 hours just about that, those 1,000 pages. It's just that they had to like add stuff and create stuff into The Hobbit, and there's a lot of CGI, and The Lord of the Rings, the costume design, and the orcs, they didn't look perfect, but there's still like any time when it's not where you can hardly notice the CGI, and when it's mainly costume design and like just the realism, actually real stuff, I just feel like it makes the movie so much better.
Yeah, well, hey, at least those people that have only seen The Hobbit, if they go see Lord of the Rings, they'll be watching it in the right order.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and then I think you'd really, really appreciate the Lord of the Rings. Like, if you're listening to this, and you've only read The Hobbit, or watched The Hobbit, go watch Lord of the Rings. And here's what, and I got just hype the movies. Because what I did is over the past few months, I read The Lord of the Rings. I read the book. And it was my first time ever reading it. And what I realized is that while there was lots of differences from the book to the movie was so good that so let's just take a step back. If I had hypothetically read the book, and I read the whole series, and then watched the movie would have painted such a good picture. I really feel like it was deep, like true Tolkien fans that take, like when you're reading the book, there's all this amazing imagery that Tolkien is painting, but sometimes my brain can't put it together. Sometimes my brain can't like read all the words and then actually like create my own world with that. And I think there's lots of readers that can do that. I'm not a frequent fictional reader.
I don't read like ever.
Yeah. And so
comic books even seem like they're too long to read.
Yeah. Like fictional I think books are just amazing because you're making your own world. And I think that's why everyone always says that a book is better than a movie. Is because you're creating the perfect world for you. Like you're making the story the way you want it, right? And that's why I think people like books so much. But if I would have just read the book, and then I would have watched the movie, I would have been like, oh my gosh, I need to reread the books all over again. Because the movie does such a good job painting a picture on so many things. Like, the scene that I'm thinking about the most is when Gandalf, and I'll say it like the Christian version, like how I think of it, and on my, like through my Christian lens, Gandalf speaks the truth over who, oh crap, the name's leaving me. I always forget the King of Gondor's name. Or the King of Rohan. King of Rohan.
King of Rohan. Speaking life, or wait, he said speaking life, right?
Yeah, he speaks truth.
Speaking truth.
I think, like, to me, it's kind of almost like what we talk about with prophecy. Like, when, like, I believe God wants to people prophesy over people, and you don't have to be this crazy person that's like a creepy prophet guy. And I think God wants Christians to prophesy. And that might sound weird to lots of people, and I get that. Totally get that.
That's fine.
So, he speaks over, like, who he really is, and then he starts to get back strength, and you can see it. And when you're reading the book, it's pretty much like he just says this thing, and then he says the king would remember the strength if he held his sword. Epic phrase. Like, J.R. Tolkien, this is just a really, really awesome imagery, I think, from the Christian side, and just like, the king was not doing what he was called to do, so he was literally decaying. Like, he was becoming an old, frail man. But the king was called to have a sword, and to be a man of power, and to be a man that, like, he was called to protect and to serve his people. And he wasn't at the time, he was serving himself.
Right.
And so he picks up his sword, and then he gets the strength back in his hands. And in the movie, if I would have just read it, I would have been like, oh, I wouldn't have ever, like, pictured him as decayed as he was in the movie. And I wouldn't have been able to, in my mind, create the transformation that he took part in. But in the movie, it shows this super old frail man, and then he gets this strength. And then just by seeing that one part, I'd be like, well, I have to reread that now. Because I know if I would have never watched the movie and just read it, my perspective of that would have been like, wait, did that even happen in the book? I don't even remember him being old. Like, I would have thought that he was always the guy that could ride out into battle.
Right.
And so just have to say that about Lord of the Rings. Right now, I'm reading The Hobbit again, and reading The Hobbits. It's interesting. It's kind of like I'm pretty much reading it because so if you've never read The Lord of the Rings, the book ends way differently, and it ends way more epic. Which I don't think I've ever told you about this.
No, I only read The Fellowship of the Ring and the Two Towers, right?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I never read the third book.
And so what I did is I watched the
Spoilers
movies.
for book readers out there.
Yeah, right. All spoilers, just spoilers. Anything we start to talk about, there's spoilers.
Yeah.
So, do you remember how Saruman dies?
No.
So Saruman, he is the wizard like Gandalf was. He's Saruman the White. He was supposed to be a good guy. And he got deceived by Sauron. He was going to join forces with Sauron. And essentially how he dies is he's up at the top of his tower. And Wormtongue is that was the guy that actually deceived the king of Rohan. Wormtongue is with Saruman, and Gandalf talks to Wormtongue and tells him that he can come down, or one of them does. And then Saruman tells Wormtongue pretty much that he can't. I forgot exactly how this plays out. But then then Saruman just bashes Wormtongue, just trolls him pretty much, makes him feel like crap. And then something snapped in Wormtongue, and then he takes a knife, and he goes and he's about to he stabs or is about to stab. I think he stabs Saruman, and then Legolas shoots him, and then they both die. And then Saruman falls and he goes into this huge spike and he dies. And honestly, in the movie, it's a pretty good way to kill Saruman off. Right way. And that's the last time that he's involved in the movie story. In the books, here's where it's different. After Aragorn is made king of Gondor, they are going back throughout Middle Earth and they're seeing these people, they're doing these things. It's just a happy
this
time.
is really entertaining for somebody that's a fan of Lord of the Rings.
I'll try to rush it out. You're right. You're the person that...
No,
okay.
no, it's not.
So, they're going back.
I'm just messing.
They're going through Middle Earth, and they see Saruman, and they give him, like, they pretty much tell him, hey, he doesn't have any power, so they're like, don't terrorize anymore. Don't do anything bad. He does. They go off and they do some other things in Middle Earth, and the hobbits haven't gone back to the Shire. But where does Saruman go? He goes to the Shire. And he starts, and there's already people there that have, and when you read the book, it sets it up really well. When you're probably hearing it here, it's like, what? Saruman's in the Shire? But do you remember how?
Yeah.
So in the movies, Saruman has Longbottom Leaf, which is only grown in the Shire, and and there's clearly this connection with the Shire. And it turns out that through that purchasing of Longbottom Leaf, he's got a person to start taking territory over the Shire, and then Saruman comes in and he pretty much tries to make it Mordor version 2.
Right.
The hobbits come back in the book, and they rally up all the other hobbits and they go to war with these people that invaded the Shire, and that's how the book ends. And then Frodo does go off into the sea or whatnot. But
the super nerds know exactly what you're talking about. They're like, yes! And everybody else is like, when is this guy going to stop talking about Lord of the Rings?
Oh, man. Yeah, well, I'll just leave it there. That it is pretty epic in the book.
Yeah.
We're
going to title this video the Cali Nerdcast Episode 2 Star Wars and Lord of the Rings. Because those are pretty much the main things we talked about.
And a little Marvel.
Little Marvel. But
all you listeners out there, if there's anything that you want to hear, let's talk about.
Well,
just let us know. We'll talk about it.
Yeah. Leave a comment on if you're seeing this on wherever and do the thing.
If we don't know what you want us
Wait.
to talk about is, too...
Okay.
What is it? Yeah.
No, I was just gonna say. Well, go ahead.
Well, if you want us to talk about something and we don't know what it is, we'll still talk about it with no information.
Yeah.
We'll just talk about something
Yeah.
we don't know about. Maybe
Yeah.
we'll Google it while we're talking.
Have us talk about what's that card game? Yu-Gi-Oh. Have us talk about Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yes. We will talk about Yu-Gi-Oh! It's a card trading thing.
Or I could just talk about Pokemon for a long time, and Spencer could just be like, "Dude, shut up about Pokemon."
We should definitely talk about Pokemon soon. Can I just make one small comment about Pokemon?
Yeah. Or you can even make a big comment about
I'll
Pokemon.
make a moderate sized. So
Keep it moderate.
my daughter uses my phone all the time, and she will, thanks to her sweet uncle, she will catch Pokemon for me in
Oh,
Pokemon
yeah.
Go.
Yeah.
And I knew that, and she's 3. My daughter is 3. And my daughter said, "Daddy, we can't catch any more Pokemon because we got no more Pokeballs."
I could totally picture. If you know Adeline, you could probably picture that. It would be so cute and hilarious.
And she might have to make a guest
Daddy,
appearance.
we
on the
can't catch
Nerdcast.
more Pokemon because there's no Pokeballs.
She's so serious about it. And she's always stoked when I
Oh,
tell her
yeah.
we're going to do a Pokewalk.
Really?
Yeah.
She doesn't say "huh," right?
No, she does. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, take it.
Well, how do we wrap these things up? What do we do?
There's one more thing I was thinking
Oh.
we should talk about. I want to say. Oh, so you don't follow any DC stuff? Do you know about Justice League or any of that? Ben Affleck's Batman movie?
I do not follow any DC stuff, really. Not really.
Wow. So that's going to be the loudest part of the podcast. So the rest of the podcast is probably going to be really quiet until all of a sudden at that one part.
That's where it's equal.
Because, yeah, I'm going to maximize the volume, and that's going to be the loudest part, and then the rest. That's fine, though.
I just wanted people to be able to
You don't
do
know?
that.
Yeah. So, did you know that they're planning on making, like, Ben Affleck was going to direct his own Batman movie? And here's the newest news. Now he's saying that might not happen.
He's a good director.
Yeah. But the thing is, for a long while, you know, he's been saying, you know, if they give me a good script, then I'll run with it, kind of thing. And then there's also the timeline where I think it was supposed to come out next year. And if he hasn't found a script that he's interested in, and it's supposed to come out next year, who knows if it's actually going to happen. But Justice League is happening. They're already filming that. I think they're close to being done with that.
Yeah. I don't know. I just want to see
Have you
themes
seen-
from DC that, like, feel fresh. It
Well,
feels like
have you seen
something-
the trailer for Justice League?
I don't think so.
You gotta check that
Okay.
out. Yeah, because they're trying to make it more fun. Trying to make it more, I hate to say it, but maybe a little more Marvel than the other movies.
Mm.
My thought about Batman vs. Superman was not that it was not funny enough. I didn't need Batman vs. Superman to be funnier. I just needed it to not be so jam-packed with characters from different huge story arcs of their own. Doomsday had his own story arc. Batman vs. Superman had his own story arc. Wonder Woman had his own story arc. Or had her own. You know, has her own kind of thing. I mean, it is a pretty good introduction to Justice League. I didn't feel like Doomsday needed to be in there at all. Or the death of Superman needed to be in there. Pretty sure the Justice League was formed before he died.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I don't know. I'm not going to say I followed the comics that well, but I read the Death of Superman comic, and I don't remember Batman or Wonder Woman being in it.
Yeah.
Or a young Lex Luthor with long hair that acts like the Joker. Because Heath Ledger was so popular. So they're trying to capitalize on that kind of villain.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
but I mean, everything I've seen for Justice League so far looks great.
Yeah, that's cool.
They're talking about. Do you know what parademons are?
Mm-mm.
Those are like a villain that's from the comic books. They make. Did you see Batman vs Superman?
Yeah.
You know the creatures with the wings that are attacking in
Yep.
Batman's dream.
Yep.
That's a real thing.
Okay.
And so there's rumor of that being in the Justice League.
That's
movie.
cool.
They have to fight parademons,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe what was his name? It's something like Wolf something. The super nerds are gonna hate me for not knowing that. But it would be cool to see Darkseid too. Who knows? Who knows what we'll see? But yeah, so that's all I wanted to say really about DC anyway. And
I'll try all DC stuff.
yeah,
Okay.
my brother,
I'll do
he's
it
gonna
all.
do a little more researching for the next podcast.
Yep. Yep.
And yeah, and definitely when new stuff comes out, we want to talk about it. So
Yep.
come back. It'll probably be a little more organized than this. I just kind of wanted to get this podcast on the ground running.
We might try to make it a little more disorganized too.
Yeah, that too.
We're not sure.
More organized and less organized.
Yes.
Maybe have a portion where it's really organized, and then have a portion where it's not organized.
We want to do more singing too. Sorry about that.
Yeah. Gosh dang it, we didn't even get to the singing segment.
I'm sorry, guys.
We're gonna do a song that connects all the topics of what we talked about. We didn't get to it. Dang it. Okay, well, we'll save that for the next one. So you guys gotta come back for the next podcast because we're gonna be doing a song that connects all the subjects we talked about in this podcast.
Yep.
And that is a promise. Not really.
It's enough.
But alright. Thanks for listening to the
now. Okay, we can end it. Okay.
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 Do you have more to say?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Thank you for listening to the Cali Nerdcast.